Adrian stood in front of the mirror, carefully adjusting his tie. The dark blue silk fabric shimmered under the light, complementing the color of his eyes. This was the 38th time he adjusted the position of the bow tie until it was perfectly symmetrical. The man in the mirror had a sculptural silhouette, and every hair was in its proper place. This was Adrian's first day as the company's youngest CEO. He looked around the office on the top floor. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was the outline of the entire city. The glass curtain wall reflected the morning light, coating the interior with a layer of light gold. On the desk was a crystal photo frame, which contained a photo of him and his wife. Anna in the photo had a perfect smile, long golden hair cascading like a waterfall, and clear blue eyes. Adrian's fingers gently stroked the edge of the frame. He remembered that on the day this photo was taken, Anna changed 7 sets of clothes and adjusted her hairstyle countless times until she found the perfect angle. Just like their wedding, she spent a whole year preparing, and every detail was carefully designed. At that time, Adrian felt that the pursuit of perfection was a matter of course. The first ray of sunlight shone through the glass onto the desk, and Adrian turned on his computer and began to deal with emails. His schedule was accurate to the minute, and every task was in order: meetings, negotiations, and decision-making. He handled everything with ease. His subordinates were in awe of his ability. The board of directors appreciated his vision, and the media called him Mr. Perfect. However, under this perfect appearance, something was quietly breaking. Adrian began to notice some subtle abnormalities. Anna's smile became stiff, and she would sit alone in the living room late at night, staring at her phone. Their conversations became less and less, replaced by carefully designed silences. Adrian tried to fill these cracks with more gifts and surprises, but only made them more obvious. Until that rainy night, Adrian ended his business trip early and returned home, and found Anna's suitcase spread out on the bedroom floor. Her clothes were neatly folded and her cosmetics were arranged in rows, just like her usual style. But this time, she took everything with her. On the dresser was a note that read, "I can't live in your perfect world anymore." Standing in his empty bedroom, Adrian felt overwhelmed for the first time. He tried to numb himself with work, but found that perfectionism began to bite him. Every decision became difficult, and he repeatedly scrutinized every detail, fearing any flaws. The company's performance began to decline, and the board's dissatisfaction grew. One sleepless night, Adrian turned out his childhood photo album. In the photo, he stood on the podium, holding the trophy in his hand, but there was no smile on his face. He remembered that day. His father said, "Second place is failure." Since then, perfection has become the only pursuit in his life. But now, for the first time, he began to question, what exactly did this pursuit bring? Adrian decided to give himself a vacation. He came to a remote seaside town, where there were no 5-star hotels, no Michelin restaurants, only simple homestays and simple small restaurants. At first, he couldn't stand this imperfection. The sheets were not flat, the food was casually plated, and the waiters would remember the wrong orders. But gradually, he began to notice other things: the whistle of the fishing boats in the morning, the aroma from the corner bakery, the crooked footprints left by children on the beach. One evening, Adrian sat on the dock, watching the sunset dye the sea golden. An old fisherman sat down beside him and handed him a cup of hot coffee. The coffee didn't taste perfect, too bitter, too strong, but it made Adrian feel a long-lost warmth. The old fisherman said, "Young man, do you know, the most perfect shells are often hidden in the deepest mud." This sentence hit Adrian like a heavy hammer. He suddenly realized that he had been pursuing superficial perfection, but missed the most precious part of life. Those imperfect moments, those real emotions, those unforeseen accidents are the real elements that make up life. After returning to the city, Adrian began to change. He no longer obsessed with the perfection of every detail, but learned to appreciate the beauty of the process. He recontacted Anna, not to save anything, but to apologize sincerely. They sat in a cafe, chatting about their lives, without deliberate disguise, only real communication. In the company, Adrian also began to try new management methods. He encouraged employees to make mistakes, because mistakes are often the beginning of innovation. He no longer required every project to be perfect, but paid more attention to team cooperation and growth. Gradually, the company's atmosphere became relaxed and creative, and performance began to pick up. Adrian finally understood that true perfection does not lie in being flawless, but in accepting imperfections. Just like that seaside town, its charm comes precisely from its imperfections. crooked signs, mottled walls, unpunctual buses, all of which constitute its unique charm. Many years later, when Adrian stood in front of the mirror again, he did not see a perfect image, but a real person. His tie may be a little crooked, and his hair is no longer meticulous, but his eyes are shining with unprecedented light. He finally understood that the beauty of life is not in the pursuit of perfection, but in finding the real self in the process of pursuit. In this world full of perfectionism, Adrian learned to appreciate flaws and embrace imperfections. He understands that it is these imperfections that make life colorful and human nature real and moving. Perhaps this is the most precious gift that life gives us, to find our own perfection in imperfection.